suppose. Oh, we actually have someone in the audience already. Well, that's reassuring. So, yeah, hello there. I'm sorry about the windows. I really can't do anything about that. So I don't really have anything to cover that up with. So those here, if you're watching, probably actually at least know the channel, and if not, well, this is the sort of the first test of this sort of thing. I did do a very brief test a minute ago, not a minute ago, but 1.5 minutes, just to see if everything was functioning correctly. But the I've written out the purpose for this particular stream. Hello there. So yeah, actually, there is someone actually here that actually, well, it does say that there's at least two people watching, which is reassuring it to some degree. If this one doesn't go off, I'm probably going to do another one at a different time, like tomorrow, when I'm also not feeling as badly because I'm still sick, but I still needed to try and actually, do what I promised before. So yeah, I have mentioned this to people, and some of them were interested in joining up. So that's why I had to do it today, because I promised it would be today. I only kind of had a bit of a moment when I was sleeping a lot because of well, I was basically still am sick actually. So there's that. I'm going to try to possibly cover that. Well, I don't know if I can do what I can do. That looks a bit silly if I try to do it that way. Either way, I'm sort of doing this as a test run while I'm still hoping some people join in to talk. I've not actually, I have a few things that I've prepared to talk about as well. I'm, I'm just testing this out for the very first time. So be that as it may. Those of you who don't know the channel, I don't know if there's any there who doesn't, but yeah, I'm assuming you came here because I just sent you all a link on a server that I happen to be on, or just happened to already be subscribed, I guess. Which, yeah, I know I'm really boring right now. I don't intend to be, so it's actually just waiting for people to potentially join in. And like I said, I would probably do another one of these, say tomorrow, and there's at different times, and be a little more prepared. You're trying to be secretive, aren't you? Well, you know, uh, hmm. Now that's going to bug me. Well, as it is, ink. I might go over the same things today that I might comment on in another stream. But essentially, yeah. Okay, well, that might, yeah, sure, if you want. That's not a problem. Now, if you can do that. Now, we have some things that I mentioned in the chat, mentioned the tags as well, that I can talk about. But yeah, in general, this channel is specifically dedicated to talking about weird, obscure books, and that's generally what I've been doing for the last many, many years. The only issue right now, in part, is the reason I'm doing this stream, because I didn't really think I'm that entertaining in live, but I decided, well, might as well give it a go. In part is because of the situation mentioned in the description. Try and gather additional support. I'm already incredibly grateful to all the people that have supported the channel and myself throughout this last year and then some. it's just been rather difficult due to certain circumstances getting in the way, which made me honestly feel a bit embarrassed. But it is what it is, as someone that I'm friends with from a different server would say. I don't. I assume they're not here right now. I don't know how they would be because I never sent them this. But yes, so I'm sorry about the. Also, I'm sorry about the light situation. It's more that the light here is really annoying. It's either extremely glaring or there's nothing, or it's just completely dark. So I kind of have to pick between the two. And I also have to blow my nose now. So I'm sorry. Again, I'm just being incredibly rambly now. I'm mostly trying to stall for time slightly just to see if a couple of people who were interested in showing up actually would show up. So I'm trying to stall a bit for time because I know they had some things they wanted to talk about. But yeah, if the people who are watching right now want me to go into a particular topic or want to ask about something in relation to the channel, they can. In the meantime, I'm not sure how much this is going to display. So I'm just going to showcase something that I recently acquired. There, and this is going to pick up. Yeah, this is just black. Let me see. I'm going to see what I can do with this. Yeah, this is very dark. I'm not sure if you can see any of you can see this. Hold on. I might have to get up and potentially turn the lights on, which would be weird considering it's 5:30 p.m. It might actually help with the glare from the windows. I'm just going to very slowly. Okay. 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 Well, that's a bit better, I suppose. Sorry about that. Now then. So, this is one of my most recent acquisitions. I usually find these rather cheap online because people sometimes just don't know what they have, or in other cases, they're just sort of, well, they do stuff like this. If you can, this is a tiny little booklet collection from a certain Erwin Rosenberger. It's basically a collection of 95-ish pages of various short fantastical stories. One of two collections this man actually wrote. Both of these released in these tiny little paperbacks. One of them that I actually own, but would have to actually get out from the box somewhere is not somewhere. I know where it is. It's in the box. But yeah, it's a little bit of a collection of stories. Like, for example, let me just open this up. Yes, I really wish actually he did digitize these a bit, so I can actually show them on the screen. Well, it's one of a handful of acquisitions. The only problem is I could read it. The only problem it's in German, but I could potentially read one or two of these because some of these are very short. If there would be interest in me going on about these, let's see, like the Fear of the Young Buddha. That's a page and a half. I think I should be able to do that. Of course, then we have another one of my recent acquisitions and part of recent sort of obsession of mine, where I will just get obsessed over a writer. Hello there. So we're talking about, well, this right now. This is The Devil in the Winter Palace, which is a novella by Werner Bergengruen, I believe, yes, a Baltic German writer of whom I've read exactly one book previously, but I've bought like 8 of them because sometimes I get really obsessed by a writer without having even read anything from them, and that's how I wind up with this. And actually, not just this, but also his other collection, um, the Flamme im Säulenholz, which, again, the problem with a lot of his work is that they come out in these non-fancy looking books, although this is still better than some of the other books that came out from the Arche, which are really utilitarian. Oh, no, these are in German actually. Most of my current collection is in German because, well, being in Germany, I obtained them in German. But I have a few interesting pieces I can show off. But yeah, this is basically my current obsession, as I said, Werner Bergengruen, a man who I actually read and reviewed one of his books on the channel, which I definitely felt like it had a stronger first half, where I felt the second half was sort of dragging. But it's definitely interesting, although he's not exactly what you would typically refer to as a writer of ghost fiction or supernatural fiction, in that you don't tend to see a lot of horror in his works. This is what I've just been started reading recently. These are the collected fantastic works of Martin Oserke, who used to be a fairly popular writer in the interwar and post-war period. Yeah. Ironic, this is basically the only collection of his fantastic works that ever came out. I'm not sure how well this is actually showing up. Okay, it is. But yeah. I've only really started. It's basically one of those things which you start and I put it on the desk and trying to find time to actually continue reading it. Now, I have I'm just checking. Old account, you say? I wonder if, what I just noticed, I wonder if you, Alicia, are you here by any chance? I actually thought you were the how do you do person, because they were being cryptic about about. Okay, also full disclosure, I'm not wearing any pants right now because it's hot in here. But I'm also still sick, so I probably should go and get them. So I'll just go and fetch more things to show off while surreptitiously obtaining pants. Okay, I'm back. Okay. I'm going to show off a few things, and the reason I'm going to show it off is, I do need help with also just being able to keep these things, because some of these are very unique, and without a place to stay, I don't know what I'm able to do with these. So let's start with the two most rare. Oh, hello there. Low 3242 then. Well, I find most people actually find out about my videos from posting about them Discord. Hold on. I got sent something from Facebook. It's not important. I don't even use it, but people keep sending me stuff that's on Facebook, like I actually care. Well, this is a beauty, isn't it? I hope you can actually see this properly. The problem is I don't know where in which to. It's got a really nice cover, but I'm trying to figure out what way one could actually display it, because it's you know, this is Karl Rossner's Es spricht die Nacht, one of the rarest pieces of my collection, and also it's in general just well, I just love it because of the incredibly doofy skeleton skull on the front. The problem is I don't think the webcam can like properly render the sheer doofiness on display. So it's like you can probably tell it's a skull, but you probably can't tell how it looks. It looks rather distressed. I would say mostly reminds me of someone who's really afraid of going to the dentist. And the other one is here. Sorry, I will probably have to sneeze. Sorry about that. This is probably going to happen more times than not. Sorry. Just, I'm just looking for something to stay hydrated. I normally would have made tea when I'm sick, but I kind of didn't want to. Thank you, and I'm sorry for the massive thing. Again, I sneeze and cough really loudly, so that's just a family thing. Not really able to do much about that. So, this here, and I showed you backside up because it literally is indistinguishable because of the front of this. It's just these shapes. So it's the same way both sides around. This is The Invisible Bridge by Bert von Müller. This is basically impossible to find, and I got it through sheer dumb luck, and just like the Rosner. Again, most of these I've sadly not read yet because, well, it's a combination of, especially the more rarer it is, you don't actually want to read it as quickly as possible to then just no longer have it, if that makes any sense. Like, the idea and the ability to read it at some time, and I'm sorry if you hear that noise, that's the fan sometimes. There's sometimes just whirs out like this. Yes, I will just show you. Although weirdly enough, the very first picture is actually glued in here, and isn't actually. That's not actually. Like, there's illustrations in the book. This one's just randomly glued on here. I don't know what that's about. So I'm going to show it. I'm going to make sure that it's more visible. I hope. Of course, I'm going to have to basically block my view in order to do that. Yes. I kind of wish I had the ability to just show this to you more organically. I'm going to try and find some more neat illustrations in here because there's a lot of very nice illustrations here. Very Kubinesque. Well, with less cannibalistic seals and whatnot, but which, if you've ever looked up the various illustrations from Alfred Kubin, you would probably know what I'm talking about. I particularly like to share the one he did with the sea lion or walrus standing atop a mountain of skeletons because it's so incredibly random. I'm trying to see. Oh. Well, I found I found like a thing from Aldi in here. That's random considering this book. But yes, let me just. I know I'm being trying not to be. There we go. This is a good illustration to show off. I hope it actually comes through. There, you know. Also, my face randomly changed color when I moved, so that's nice. So again, I know this. Excuse the guerrilla style presentation. Ah, hello there. Well, yes. I've heard the English language translation of that one has gotten pretty expensive over the years. I've actually read a reproduction of the German original with the illustrations long ago by basically borrowing them from the Goethe Institute in in a university library 100 kilometers from where I lived. Oh, and this is just vanilla Coke, very cheap vanilla Coke, but good, but good. Just in case you're thinking I'm like chugging on beer here or something. No, because I was a bit concerned because of the color, because it kind of looks like a beer can. So yeah, that's the invisible bridge. I'm not sure if I mean it is. It's ironically enough, it's one of two different. It's from Penny, from Penny, and ironically enough, there's about multiple different. Sorry, I will sometimes have to sniffle a bit. Uh, there's two different actual flavors: the regular flavor of this comet Coke, as it were, and oddly enough, like they have a cherry one, which I also have over here. If you want to see it, I have to actually find. There we go. This is the cherry one. Holding it off for presentation. Yeah, that one. That one. It's like the flavored ones are so much better than the regular one, but they sell you the flavored ones in like cans. But then again, they're much cheaper than anything else that you get in cans, so it's not as bad. But it's still have to pay the extra for the bottles. Now then, I wanted to show you some more, but of course, this one's also a bit of a rarity. This is Oscar Krese's Überwinde des Todes. I don't know how. I mean, it would actually show off the illustrations there. So what I might do is if I actually would do this tomorrow again, I might just photo some, make photos of some of this and just use it. Share the screen, basically have a bit of a gallery to show it off. Okay, trying to find some particularly nice illustrations here, because this is also very consistent illustrated. Well, like, trying to find something. There, well, I suppose I don't want to bore people too much, so I'm just going to try and again direct the camera onto this and just see the illustrations. Showing it all again. This is most something I bought because it's relevant to the genre. It's fantastical, but I've not actually read it again because of Okay, these things go together. This, I actually got this one just a few days before Christmas. This is basically the last thing I ever got from my grandmother, and it's a bit of emotional for me for that regard. Well, I'm sure I can change your mind about that. Just like I can hopefully change your mind about, certain types of cheeses. Specifically blue cheese. I realize there's a thing we do We battle over a blue cheese. I know that you're never going to eat any, but I can still try. Uh, well, now, you say that, but now let's actually not go on about cheese too much. Well, so here we have this is again. I hope I've actually been able to show this off in some way where I really should have. I didn't really think, it wouldn't display these things that poorly, or like grain. Yeah, I'm trying to. I hope this is in any way visible. This is the Devil's Express train, which it's technically a crime novel, but it has fantastic elements, so that's why I got it. And yeah, it's it's the last thing I got from my grandmother. It's actually two things I got from my grandmother in late December. The other one is this, which is again another technically. It's as far as I understand it, it's a fantastic crime novel, basically a novel of crimes being committed using fantastic and supernatural methods. This one apparently focuses on, well, if you can see it, a sort of, as far as I understand it, is sort of an Indian uh, fakir slash criminal mastermind with um, mystical powers as the main antagonist of the book. It's called Prashna's Geheimnis or Prashna's Secret. And yes, those appear to be two can women in the front. Although I absolutely love the unintended fact that the one on the left just looks dead. I know this will not come through in the in here, but the expression. And another neat thing about this, and I've never seen this done before in a book. This will probably not come through, not only because of the size of the text, but also because of the fact that the text is in fraktur, which is that weird hard to read squiggly thing. Well, a lot of these not so much. Although, well, there are certain. Okay, my friend Pierre and I are actually working towards potentially providing and selling English translations of a lot of these. But again, things are mostly in the preparatory stages, and right now we're focusing on something that's technically in English that I've actually talked about before, and which you can't normally find, not only on the internet but just in general, can't really easily access, which is weird considering how insanely prolific it was and how many editions it came out in. I'm not going to say the name outright just yet because I have not really gotten the go ahead. I'm going to show what I wanted to show you here if I can get to it. There we go. I have to actually. I'm trying not to actually damage the pages here. So again, it's probably not going to be apparent here, but I thought this was actually a mistake in the printing originally, but no, and you probably won't be able to notice this. Even if I put it all the way up there, because it's in fraktur, and so it's a bit of a problem. It's not exactly easy to do much with, like to read by normal people, and I've gotten to the point where I can actually read it. And yes, that's definitely is what we're actually going to do, William. That's actually part of the strategy. We are basically working on setting up. Well, I'm helping my friend to set up a publishing house, an online publishing company specifically focused on weird fiction and specifically old fantastic fiction, horror, and that sort of thing, especially from translating it from German. And yes, so just to explain what I was trying to show off here, the very last chapter of this book is actually printed in reverse, like in mirror script, and you literally need a mirror to be able to read it, which is I found that kind of neat. Now, then this is a very interesting little artistic creation. This is Richard Euringer's In Graben Blute Löwenzahn, which is basically, it's going to hard for me to show off. It is not only illustrated, but the entire thing is actually printed as if it was handwritten. So you see, again, it's kind of hard for me to show this off. I really should have. I'm going to actually make photocopies of this. And of course, it is also illustrated. Again, I was aware of this book because of another book that I have from the author, which I would have to like dig up from the bottom of the box, but I am able and willing to show off. Now, as for the reason why I'm just sitting here yapping about things, it's basically, what I mentioned before. I want to just briefly reference it again, just because I don't want to just people who came in later don't know what the point is. They might. I'm maybe just too anxious about that. Basically, trying to get additional funds together to help pay for getting to a new place, to enable me to actually be able to start a new job, and also to avoid having to potentially interact with or move back in with a pair of extremely aggressive and rude, violent alcoholics who just happen to be my parents. But yeah, I don't want to go on about that too much. Basically, right now I'm looking for either a way to pay for a rent for a new apartment, or rent through Airbnb at least for a month or two while things settle and I manage to actually get some money from work, which, it's not been very easy trying to get work here in this country. It's actually been pretty difficult, considering the fact that most job prospects in the city itself, they tend to just automatically disqualify me, so I'm only getting any kind of more genuine feedback from places an hour or more away, which is kind of an issue. But I managed to do this for more than half the summer before, when I was basically traveling an hour and a half one way to commute to work at a DHL warehouse. So, and I was able to do that. At least, of course, the problem with that was I ended up actually the hair in my mouth for some reason. I ended up actually losing most of the money I got from the paycheck there, not from my own free will. Basically, it ended up going into rent and things of that nature that have piled up previously. So that was annoying. Then basically, I got jerked around by them, saying, "Oh, they want me to work there for an extended period," and then the same day they actually said, "Oh, we already filled out." Then they called me back later, saying, "Oh, are you interested in working here?" I said yes, and then they never called me back again. So they're, I don't know why they keep calling me, offering me work, and then ghosting me. I didn't, but they just keep doing that. Anyway, yeah. The point is, because of certain situations beyond my control, which I referenced. Oh yeah. That's another thing. I'm not going to show it off here, but basically, I've waited since August. Ignore the sirens. There's a hospital nearby because it kind of just happens. I basically, in order to acquire, I've been waiting since August to acquire a German tax ID. I sent off the documents, and I only got any kind of response back at the end of February, and only because I basically what I got a letter from the bank saying that I have to prove whether or not I have a German tax ID because they wanted to, the regulations mandated they ask me so that they would avoid tax evasion because I know my account had like 40, like an euro 40 in it at the time. And I don't know what criminal activity they thought I was going to be funding of that, but so yeah. And I basically had to make an appointment with the finance department, the tax department rather. But it's called Finanzamt, so it's kind of, you can translate it both ways. I came there and they basically said, you don't have a tax ID. So I waited for them to send me a confirmation. And then the person they asked just randomly assigned me a tax ID, and I got it 2 weeks later. So the thing I've been waiting for since August, they just randomly did it for no reason, just because. And the reason that's important is, even though you don't need to have a tax ID or even be already registered with a health insurance company here to actually get a job, a lot of people assume you do. So they just require you to have health insurance and a tax ID. And while you can get a tax ID without having a job, if you come here, you cannot be you cannot actually be have local health insurance if you don't have a job, because there's a specific form that you fill out where you get assigned where you basically not only get assigned a tax ID, but also where you get registered into uh, health insurance through a company. So I can't register through a company before they hire me. So, and the weird and annoying part was I had not just HR people in job agencies repeatedly tell me the lie that you cannot work here without already having health insurance and a tax ID, which you do not have to. I found relevant laws and regulations about this online from the Federal Ministry of Finance that I basically printed out and had to show them. And I basically had to go to the Finanzamt just to get a form for this to show them that, oh yeah, this is actually, not only is this possible, it is actually standard and this is how it's done. Because not only would HR people not know you can do this, even in job agencies and temp agencies, which the whole point of those is to hire people, especially from abroad. But even had people at a federal institution like Job Center, which is a federal institution that's supposed to help people get jobs and deal with like social issues, tell me that I needed health insurance and a tax ID to work in Germany after I already worked without having had to have had any of those things before starting to work. So yeah, it's kind of depressing that people here whose job it is to know these things don't know these things, and I have to correct them. Anyway, yeah, that's a lot of, because for the longest time, because of this, until I managed to get my first job and be registered to health insurance, and then now getting the tax ID, it was basically this thing where they would tell you you need this to be hired, but you will only get this if you have a job. So it was like, it felt very Kafka-esque in a weird and disturbing way. You need health insurance, but you can only get health insurance through having a job, but you can't have a job without health insurance. Basically, that's what everyone was saying. It was actually really annoying, and yeah, it kind of did lead to a lot of depressive thoughts that I had before. So just going to put this aside, and I'm going to consider what to pull out next. Well, of course, the people here, is there anyone else who actually would have anything specific they would want to ask me about, or maybe just tell me how they found out about this stream specifically? I know one of them, but yeah. And as for the title of the stream, well, again, it's because I really do need to somehow raise this money to help with the whole apartment thing, and that's why I'm kind of being involuntarily forced to commit what I like to refer to as dark side Phil cosplay. But at the very least, we're now with less anti-Semitism, because if you don't know Phil, well, good. You're the lucky one, actually. But I only know Phil tangentially, and it's not good. It's not good at all. Let me just try and think. What else would we show off? Again, I'm sorry that the way I'm presenting these things is not that intriguing, and I'm sorry for the guerrilla style photography and having to get up and leave and go back. I'm back. What? Oh, I saw. Oh, it's okay. Thank you very much for that. Like I said, we'll probably do another stream that's a bit more prepared tomorrow, and we'll see from there. But right now, I'm still trying to work through things. There we go. I was inhaling some old book smell. And if you tell me you don't like to smell old books, I know you're lying. So, again, this is a copy of Francis Kulpe's Schmerzensohn. Again, I mostly can show these off based on the appearance. Like, for example, the not topographical, I forgot the word, the design, but not the actual contents, because again, I haven't actually read most of these. This is interesting. This is a collection of separate fantastic stories issued by this particular publishing house, where they basically took a bunch of their separately printed out novellas, which they published in paperback, which I actually have one of those, and published these together, bound. So there's, for example, the first. It's basically a collection rebound officially by the publisher and given a cover of a bunch of their older paperback issues, and published with, because of these that issued in paperbacks, like 40 pages. There's an absolute shit ton of text on the page. Not the easiest thing to read, but what can you do? The front of this is a Nachtstücke by Hoffmann, which I would like to show off if you would not just close on me. And yeah, let me just flick through this a bit. Let's try and this one's a bit longer than the other ones. Then we have, for example, a collection stories by Villiers d'Isle-Adam, and I probably butchered that one immensely, but yeah, you probably know him from the one story that gets reprinted by him, The Torture by Hope. This one has more than that, and actually, I think this collection, which is like 60-ish pages, doesn't actually have that particular thing. There we go. Das Geheimnis des Schloss. Then you got Alfred Freiherr von Berger's Hofrat Eisenhart. Don't really know anything about this, but it was included in this collection. And the thing I actually am interested about the most, and why I originally bought this, it's fantastic. I can actually find what it is. I actually have two of these. Shadow by Eugen Durz. I actually have two of these. I actually have I have this I have a copy that includes the Shadow, but I also have the original paperback edition, and I'm going to show it off if I can find it. The reason is simply that it took too long to actually get to the post. I thought it got lost, and therefore I found the only other copy in existence that was being sold. And then I got both, so now I have two copies basically. But the collection here doesn't actually have the cover, so it's still good for having the cover. This is something I'm really interested in. This is another thing from Werner Bergengruen, and it's a fantastic horror novel that he wrote in 1923. It's basically one of his first two books that he published, and which he originally later disowned for the way it was written. And I've done some research on it so far, and it seems to pretty neat illustrations, all things considered. Although, what you could make of that, I don't know. The funny thing about this one is that, yeah, it's even read. It's basically one of the more outright, should I put this, more standard horror stories than he would be known to write. He would. So it's a lot, as far as I've been told, it's a lot darker overall. Also, there's a pretty neat little. I don't know if this comes off, but the actual paperback has this neat Chinese pagoda art style. I don't think it's actually relevant to although it might technically be Burmese in inspiration. It does kind of evoke China for me, so I don't know if that's just me. I don't know, we've got a couple of others. Just, again, more Bergengruen, which I got on a whim, basically. So this... Well, I have a desk, the problem is I'm on the desk. My computer is on the desk, and I don't really know how to physically do this. Also, I mean, I could turn that around, but the smaller table I have here is a bit... Again, this is basically me trying to improvise my way through this. So, but I am trying. Okay, so this is, for example, Die Sultanenrose und andere Erzählungen from Bergengruen. Again, haven't read this yet, but I know that there's some retellings of older medieval legends in here, so that's why I got it. This is the problem. This is Schatzgräbergeschichten, which is another one of the weird, like, sub 50-page novellas he was publishing towards the end of his life, like this, just like the other one I showed you. I don't know why. But again, I only read one book from him so far, and I've already shown you like 5 that I own physically that I haven't read yet. So that's that. This is das Geheimnis von... Actually, I'll show this off, although again, it doesn't have a cover. This is just das Geheimnis von Totenmoor, or the secret of Deathmoor. So of the Death Moor, like as in the Moors, not as in people who happen to be from Africa. I don't know. I did find a particular, a stamp from the owner at the back, which includes not only his name, his address, the specific book that in his collection happens to be, as well as his phone number. And you can tell, considering the fact this phone number has 4 digits, probably a bit older, I don't think you can really call someone by just dialing 2161 anymore. Okay. Now, I'm just going to go and oh, oh, hello. Oh, yes, you're talking about Gespenster im Sumpf. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry for the unsolicited preview there. I read it years ago. The only problem is it actually is a pretty interesting book, all things considered, because it's not Czech there. It's German, because again, it was written by Karl Hans Strobel, and if you actually called it Czech, he would have probably belted you across the face because he did not like us very much, despite having grown up in Ihlava his whole life. And again, he was basically banished from the country based on a eulogy he gave at someone's funeral. So, but yeah. The tragic thing is that I originally came across Gespenster im Sumpf on, and I'm trying to spell it out correctly. Ngiev Books, which used to be this platform for distributing texts. Oh, I mean like that. Oh, fair enough. But it's basically, it used to be this website for distributing there's ebooks of mostly. Sometimes they were German translations of other books, but from English and whatnot. But a lot of the time it was German books, and a lot of the time it was stuff that was not possible to get anywhere else. For example, the website was actually the only source you could find for Jakob Elias Politzky's Gespenstergeschichten, and the actually original edition of that. Well, you had Google. You had this thing where the original edition of what they published as that were being picked up by people who were basically reselling them on Google, like public domain stuff and under their own thing. The only problem was that, well, first of all, it was basically trying to make money off of someone else's work, but also because the original version of the website only had half the stories. I was actually going to cover this until I realized, doing some more research, that there were only half the stories actually on the website. And I basically contacted the site admin and basically begged them to release the rest of it. And I managed to succeed in that. And that's why I was able to actually cover the entire collection. The only problem is now the site has been defunct for several years, and I'm kind of afraid that something probably must have happened to the site owner. Again, silence. I can't really do anything about that. So yeah. Interestingly enough, I've never actually seen a single Schwankemeyer film. So there's that. Oh, well, I don't. Sorry. I'm going to consider. Well, it's not mine. So the thing is, I'm not sure. I'm potentially, if you actually really want to, But again, it's in German. You would have. Do you know German? Because if you do, I could send it to you, but I don't know if I can actually just publish it on the archive. Oh, that's it's good. I've actually never heard of Natalie Henberg. The most recent translation project I'm still working on, which I teased, was and which was kind of put on hold a bit because of this sudden apartment thing, is a thing dealing with mushrooms in general. I'm pretty sure, and that has a lot of challenges to it actually translating it correctly. Uh, I don't. I'm not sure I would really recommend using Google Translate to read things, especially not like in German. I mean, it might work, but you're still gonna get. You still might actually get a pretty inaccurate picture of what it's actually trying to tell you. Uh, I will probably preserve this somewhere else. Oh, sorry, I have to just remove some spam, as it were. Um, okay, from my email because I was notified. I think it's time I actually went up and showed you more of the stuff I have, in the hope I can continue having it with your support. Hold on, please. Uh, okay, I'm back here then. Okay, so I don't know why this one was oriented the other way around from these. Okay, I have another stack. Hold on then. I actually do need to blow my nose a bit. And rehydrating is important. I do actually wonder how the sound quality on this is. Oh, I've never really heard of those particular ones, although they seem more sci-fi, and that's not something I really generally lean towards. So yeah, I wanted to show you a few things. This this is another bugger that actually which I'm not sure you're going to be able to make out. Ah, like this, I hope. This is Felix Hübers Gespenstergeschichten, and it's basically that. This one spent a month, almost a month, in being lost in the mail. Weird thing is, you would think this isn't anything that special, but it's actually two volumes in one. Because the initial version of this, and I actually did cover it on the channel, the initial version of this consisted of two separate volumes, each basically less than 100 pages, so it's like 180 pages in total. But still releases two volumes for some reason I don't understand. Then we have this, which I actually had to get all the way from the Netherlands because that was the only one that was remotely cost effective, even if I had to wait like 2 weeks for it to arrive. And that's the Golden Kubus here, or as it's called, Golden Kubus, an occult romance in 3 sections. And I've only started reading it. Again, it's there we go. If you want to see more of the actual individual designs for the illustrations and whatnot, then there's the intro. And yeah, this is the first section called I would probably translate it as in the clutches of the square. And it actually begins as a sort of a haunted ghost story in an old castle that's being used as an insane asylum. I've only gotten a few pages into this, and I want to do more. There you go, part 2, of course. So part 2, the Black Seal, and trying to not hurt it because it's a paperback. And now let's see where the third part is. Just because I've wait, what's that? The third part? No, third part was the well. It's basically trying to it's mirrored, so it's kind of contradictory to what the saving trigon is what it is. Basically again, all the individual things here are based around geometry. And we have this neat little thing. This is the Traumtänzerin by Erich Wolfen. I was only able to get this one here because the seller is one of those who refuses to ship things outside of Germany. And again, this was the only copy on sale anywhere ever. Well, not ever, obviously, but no one else is selling this. So that was the only way I was able to get it. Again, indulging in that old book smell. Here we have the other book by Erwin Rosenberger, the King of the Thieves, which is part of the same series as his other book, which I showed off. 1 + 1 is 3. These are the only 2 fantastic works that Rosenberg ever wrote. And I said, I know this one's a little less scuffed than this other one, but again, that was the only other copy I had. Then we have Mosaic Bücher's Vox Humana. This one's still packed up. I hope you can appreciate the actual design at least. It's still basically, I decided to still keep it in the wrap because it's not like it's anything. Well, it's not like it's actually glued to the book itself, so it's helping it to keep it safe. Although I'm not sure why I didn't put this at the top, but fair enough. Then we have this, which is Eric Haring's Domgeister or Dome Ghosts, which refers to the dome of a cathedral or church, and these are historical ghost stories from, I believe, I knew this. Hold on a second now, actually, it's not, so I don't mystify you. And I'm sorry about that noise. I'm trying to make sure actually, as far as I remember, these are fantastic stories taking place in Old Magdeburg, which is a location in Germany. So there's that. Then we have the Priestess of Astaroth. Hold on, please. Okay. The Priestess of Astaroth by Gustav Adolf Müller, which is a fantastic story taking place in the time of Simpson. I believe, I thought it was Simon. There we go. It's a bit of it's a short. Is it the Reclam? No, I believe it's a different edition. It's one of these editions of these old paperback books, which used to be really cheap when they came out, and because they're cheap and made on not released on these sorts of fragile in this fragile material, they're actually fairly hard to find. So yes, that, and I'm going to return to what you actually said there. Thank you very much for that. Yes. Mythopoetic, you say? Well, I've actually not read any de Maria, but I have read. I have read House in the Borderland. Have read House in the Borderland by Hodgson, which is one of the two books from him I actually completed to date. It's not that I don't like Hodgson; it's just that I tried to start the Nightland, and it's kind of a project that I've come back to over and over again over the years, and I've not been able to properly tackle it yet. So I'm going to show you some of the other paperback stuff I have obtained so far. So this is basically, again, a lot of these were published by, for example, smaller esoterical societies, occult research societies and whatnot, spiritist organizations. So some of the quality of some of these might not be that great. Again, I haven't read some of these, but again, I'm just saying as a warning because spiritists tend to be the absolute worst people to write this sort of thing, this sort of fiction. But that doesn't mean I'm saying any of this is bad because I haven't read it yet. This is Erlebtes und Bedachtes, which it's basically a pamphlet, but it actually contains 3 different stories by Gottfried Buchner. It came out in Lorch in Württemberg here in 1917. I actually used to live in Lorch briefly, so I didn't think it would ever be a publishing company there, but you know, we found out later. Then we have Dr. Friedrich Alfred Becker's Die Augen, which is another spiritualist romance. It's basically called The Eyes, scenes from Soul Life. So who knows if that actually is any good. Then we have something from Vienna. This is Rudolf Havel's Ernstes und Heiteres. Which again, it's another Ernstes und Heiteres. I believe you could translate this as serious and frivolous. Oh, it will be more truncated version than a translated version. But I decided I really just want to read the entire thing as it was originally published. It's I'd rather just have to soldier through it. I don't know. I recently saw this collected edition of Hodgson, and for some reason that edition has both the Nightland and Dream of X as separate, which is weird to me. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about before. This is the paperback edition of Eugen Torres's Der Schatten. This is the version I got when the collected edition with all the other bound works from the publisher didn't show up. So I actually got this. And then I got both of them at the same time. And this is Robert Walters Die Pagode, des himmlischen Knabes. As far as I understand, it's more of a laid-back fantasy story, but it was sold by a bookseller that I bought a bunch of stuff from, so I got it as well. This is Alles Verstehen, Alles Verzeihen, which from Elsbeth Ebertin. It's slightly in rough shape, but again, the only copy that was for sale. This is apparently she is somewhat important, and my friend Pierre actually mentioned her, so we're going to get to that at some point in time. This is something that I read to try and cover for the channel, and it's not actually in German or English, but in Czech. But the problem was there wasn't that much to actually talk about. This is the Fakir from Benares, and trying to find some illustrations. from it, so it doesn't look too bad. But yeah, the problem with this essentially is that there's basically two slightly fantastic stories. Let me just show you the illustration for the actual title story. I don't know. Again, I was hoping to present this slightly better, but the problem is a lot of sorry. All of the stuff in here is kind of weird, but then is not fantastical precisely. And there's also the fact that the writer later basically started writing children's books and stories about cowboys, and that definitely didn't entice me to read any other stuff he wrote to try and basically get an idea of his works broadly, because it seems this was the only one that actually did anything. Well, it was actually genre related. This is something I got loaned by a friend to cover. This is basically it's a collection of Czech fiction that was created in the early 90s. And basically pretending to be written by a foreign author. I haven't actually, again, have not gotten to this yet, so I'm just showing it off as I have it. This is, I don't know if I can show you this image. I would like to, just because it's so dopey. But there's nipples involved, so probably can't. This is another that I got from my own home country. This is the how would one describe it? Well, I hope that I'm just gonna hope. The thing is, I'm just going to how to do this. I hope that's enough. It's blurry enough to not have a conniption over the fact that there's technically bare breasts. Well, bare everything on the front cover there. It's a novel by Josef Müldner, and I know for the fact I'm the first person to ever potentially read it because of this thing. Anyone know what this is? Again, I'm trying to show it off. That basically happens when they don't actually cut the pages of the book when they sell it. So when they release it, so most of the pages of this aren't cut, and the problem is that doing that is a lengthy and tedious process that might actually make the individual page edges look really, really shitty. So, looking forward to dealing with that. And of course, there's this. Hold on. Sorry about that. I will probably have to actually go and take a pee real quick, and I'll use this opportunity to get more stuff to show you on the way back. So I will be back in a few minutes. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alicia. I'm very, very well. I'm not very ill. I'm just ill. I just happen to be verily. That was a stupid joke, but I don't know any others, so that's enough. You will forgive me for that. Well, I'm back. Somehow managed to not fall into the toilet. Put these aside. And we have yet another. So, I don't know if this is going to come through at all. That actually does come off better than I wanted. This is another thing I got from the same bookseller as the other things. I didn't really know what it was, and they didn't really seem to be that knowledgeable about this either, but they said it's probably fantastic, so I got myself a copy of it. The only copy in existence that's being, no, not in existence, but that was being sold, so there's that. Then we have this. This is Anton von Perfall's Seltsame Geschichten, or Strange Stories, written by Anton von Perfall, which is a local German nobleman. This collection was actually published here in Stuttgart in 1910. That's, mention Stuttgart here, if you can somehow zoom in to see. Like, you want me to make a list of these things? I mean, I could very much if you'd be interested. There you go. Again, there's nothing visually interesting inside. It's just text, but it's interesting what it is. Even again, haven't read it yet. And this, if I remember right, yes, this is a bit of a holy grail because I spent several years trying to get a copy of this. This is the German edition of Carlo Dadone's Seltsame Geschichten. Now, because I don't speak Italian, this is the only way I can experience his writing. Now, Carlo Dadone was what was actually called the Italian Poe in his day, and I've actually read some of this some of these stories in a translation that came out in my country around the same time, but not all of them. There's two that I didn't have access to, which are in this edition. And I actually had to acquire this copy from Hungary, which required me having my friend from Hungary help me to navigate the website, and also having to go for a scare where putting this book in the shopping cart made it disappear from the website because there was an error and they canceled the order, but then at the same time it wasn't showing up again to be bought. So I had to go through another website that was reselling this website's books in a different listing and buy it from there. Again, this is a translation. This is the German translation. I don't think there was ever an English translation of anything Dadone wrote. So, and this book, because I've obtained it, I basically am now being sent constant spam emails in Hungarian about various sales that they're having, which I don't understand, because Hungarian is scary and frightening. Hold on. I'm going to try and see. If my friend is around. I have sent the official request, as it were. I realize that doing so probably is a bit late, but whatever. And yes, I'm very sad the thumbnail for the stream is my bald head, but can't really do anything with that. Carlo Dadone. I'm just going to spell it out for you, because I know how hard it is to understand what people are saying sometimes. And someone bent a page here. Where is it? Where are you? Nice sound. That's a bit of sorry. Once more with feeling. So, I was actually going to talk because I know they talked about this with someone else, but there's someone, the people here know about Karl Edward Wagner's list. Sorry, I'm just reading an inscription that I'm trying to. That is oh my word. I've just found like an ex libris stamp in here which has a woman reading a book, except she has the biggest chin I've ever seen. It's remarkable. Well, anyway, this is, I actually have another book from them somewhere else, but this is Totentanz, a dozen novellas by Adenora, which is a pen name. I mean, let's see. Of course, we have Geheimrat Tod is the very first one. Das lockende Blut. Yeah. Here, I don't want to be too boring, so I'll put this to the side. Well, let's see. Let me just go over the list, because actually someone actually did mention it. So I could share the screen somehow, but let me just. Okay, I'm just going off of the version of this on Reddit, but okay. So I basically, I guess you would want me to explain for those uninitiated. So, Wagner was a writer and among editor, and among other things, a book collector. And well back in the what was this? I can't remember the specifics. Says in the early 80s, he published a list of titles. Published a list of titles on what's called the 39 best horror novels. And even he admitted that a lot of those were not included there because they're actually good, but just because he wanted to basically talk about them, because no one would talk about them otherwise, which on the one hand I can respect. On the other, considering some of the stuff on here, I would consider it a bit snobbish, putting this on a list of bests. I mean, I'm looking at the list here. Of course, there's three categories. There's the 13 best supernatural horror novels, the 13 best science fiction horror novels, and then there's the 13 best non-supernatural horror novels. So I have read almost all the first category in the supernatural horror novels, except for Burn Which Burn by Merritt. I should get back into reading Merritt more. Then from the science fiction horror novels, well, let's see. Yes, I didn't read the two Quatermass novels that Wagner put on here, and ironically enough, he put the first and the third one, which is kind of annoying from a completionist standpoint. But I have read some of these, most of these too, in fact. I also haven't read The Day of the Triffids. I'm not sure if I'm going to. Probably have to at some point. And then there's the non-supernatural, and I think that's the one where I'm missing the most. I've not read Psycho, for example, and after my recent reading of Bloch's The Skull of the Marquis de Sade, I'm not really looking forward to that because I've gotten a lot of feedback that basically says that Bloch was not really a good writer. And then there's one novel by Frederick Brown that I haven't read. Here Comes a Candle, because I have read The Screaming Mimi and I've covered it. I still need to do The Crooked Hinge and the Vampire, the last part of the I hope I'm not going to embarrass myself, Frank Brown trilogy by Evers, which also includes The Sorcerer's Apprentice and Alraune, which I actually have read and which are also on the list. And then there's this, okay, and there's a few others, and okay, so let's just go through each section. I've not actually read, I've actually seen the movie. And you're going to probably be shocked and ask how that's possible, and well, I just haven't. Let's see, I'm trying to find something. Okay. I could open up the Dr. Pepper, but I'm not really wanting to do that right now immediately. I want the cherry one. I don't have this bottle open. I don't have much choice then. Unless I drink. Okay. Okay, let me just remember. Oh, yeah. So I was going to go through each individual section of the list and then give my honest opinions. Again, I haven't read all of them. Let's see how many have I read. I know that I've read over 20 of these. House of the Touches, Burning Court, Alraune, Sanctuary, Falling Angel, Maker of Shadows, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So yeah, at this point I've read 29 of the 39. Well, oh, hello there. I've not seen you before. Welcome to the stream. You might notice the reason for the stream is a bit of an emergency. I'm trying to sort things out to hopefully get some sort of how should I put this? Well, basically be able to pay for a place through Airbnb or otherwise for at least like 1 or 2 months while I start a new job. So that's basically the reason. I just wanted to say that, if you don't know, I don't want to seem too much like Phil, but I'm just trying to not let that be, something that I forget to bring up and then just nerd out about stuff and then forget to emphasize it. Anyway, yeah, I'm not actually. The reason I actually read the Skull of the Marquis de Sade was because I've seen you actually recording it, and it was kind of annoying to find illustrations for that video because a lot of the weird tales issues that those stories came out in aren't actually freely available to the public. So I had to do a lot, but I had to, I didn't have But basically, I think for half the book, I didn't actually have any of the proper illustrations. Well, I definitely agree with that there. Although that novel about the guy who she thinks he's a werewolf, but he ends up thinks he's a vampire, but he ends up being a werewolf. Like, okay, why not? Okay, I don't understand story, not a novel. In case I said a novel, then I'm sorry about that. But yeah, there's basically this story in the collection where this girl suspects the teacher she has the hots for is secretly a vampire because he, doesn't. No one sees him eat anywhere around town. He doesn't seem to buy groceries, and he doesn't have any mirrors in his house. So what they do is, she assumes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Also, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would say it's super good build up, but it's okay. But the ending is really bad, especially because you just laid out perfectly good explanations to all of her worries. So you can just send her home and be done with it. No, but instead you're going to kill her so that she disappears right after she's seen out with you. So either she's gone forever or they find her mangled and half-eaten corpse. And you think that's going to make you like you're that's going to make the also people leave you alone more. That was so stupid, honestly. Like, it felt like, dude, seriously, are you what? I don't want to get into that too much because I find it very annoying and infuriating in many ways. Uh, well, let's move on a little bit. So I was actually going to go through the list by Wagner and just comment on the best and the worst ones on there. To see how many of the actual best would qualify. I've only read 29 so far, so you're actually ahead of me a bit. You see, the thing is, I was trying to read it more consistently, but the last couple of ones I did read sort of numbed my will to live. So it's kind of hard to go back to that with any great enthusiasm. So, for example, let's look at the best horror novels, the supernatural horror novels, and let's actually see what the worst ones on here would be. From excluding the one I haven't read by merit, which I read some merit, so I assume it's going to be good. Let's see. The Burning Court. So I'm going to spoil the ending of the book because Carl pissed me off incredibly by doing this. So you might want to mute for the next minute or two. Probably 3 if you don't want to be spoiled, but I doubt there's many people here who want to read The Burning Court by John Dixon Carr. I'm just assuming, but I'm just saying that in case William hasn't read it. So if you've not read it, then tell me, and also I'm going to try and be as brief as possible. But if not, I can just give a general warning and then meander a bit about it. But okay, fair enough. So the novel is there's a person. The plot of the novel is a person gets murdered. A woman is suspected of being a witch and causing his murder. And then the protagonist basically finds all this exonerating evidence to exonerate his wife, who is suspected of the whole witchcraft thing. And then there's a plausible explanation for everything. And then in the last 2 pages, we reveal, actually, she was a witch and she used actual real magic to actually murder the guy. And she's just lying to her husband and she's going to try and corrupt him towards evil, and the book ends. Now, don't get me wrong, I hate rationalized horror stories and supernatural stories in general, but you've basically gone 99.5% of the way through, explained everything sufficiently, and then you throw in a massive curveball at the last second to basically screw over your audience and give them a whiplash and then end the book on them before they can in any way process what just happened. I found that really annoying, to be honest. Which is kind of why I've been hesitant to read The Crooked Hinge which is from Kyle, which is also on this list. I don't want him to do this shit again or something similar. So there was that. Let's see. Oh yeah, The Yellow Missile. There's two novels on this list by Walter S. Masterman, who was a kind of a sketchy person, probably ex-con who did time for, I believe, embezzlement, kind of just like Jean Ray, but Masterman is no Jean Ray. I could be wrong, of course. I'm just going to very quickly double check this because I believe I actually had someone from Masterman's family comment on the video. Occasionally I have relatives of the people that wrote these books reach out to me and mention the fact that they're related to the people who wrote those. Like, for example, I had a comment from someone descended from Hazlitt, the person who wrote The House on Stilts. And I know there was a couple more over the years, but I'm blanking on the details right now. We're just making sure. And I'm not 100% sure. I thought there was a scandal. I could be wrong, could be mistaken with someone else. Because there's a... Oh, sorry. What was the scandal? I'm just going to go to this blog here. Yes, he did. He actually did go. He actually was in prison, I believe. I'm trying to find out the reason for that specifically. But... Oh, yeah, he was... He was convicted and imprisoned for 3 years for defrauding his employer. Okay, fair enough, I suppose. I wanted to make sure that I'm not actually. Okay, I'm not actually slandering someone. So yeah, Masterman actually has 2 entries on this list. One of them is The Yellow Mistletoe, and the other is The Flying Beast. And actually, which is on the other list. Yellow Mistletoe is probably one of the weaker ones in the supernatural horror list here because of the fact that it's kind of really overcomplicated as far as the plot is concerned. Basically, there's this hidden community of like lost race community of like ancient Greeks somewhere in Bulgaria, and it's tied into like this thing where they have like this monster king in their sacred grove who goes around with a knife with a sword, and there's this bit where like the mistletoe is involved as a sort of sign of the telltale sign of the conspiracy that's being perpetuated by this one rich guy who happens to be like the spiritual king of these people. And then there's an abduction. It's complicated and it's a bit overdone, but it's again not as disappointing as The Flying Beast, which I'll get to. But of course, then you've got Fingers of Fear. Fingers of Fear is kind of a werewolf novel, but it's brought down by the fact that you get a lot of fair enough, I suppose. I never actually got. I don't actually care much. Didn't know much about Fraser, anything really. What was I know? Oh yes. So my problem with Fingers of Fear is because there's a lot of meandering involved, and I believe it's one of those novels that is deathly afraid of the word werewolf. It reminds me of The Thing in the Woods by Harper Williams, where I shit you not, the entire novel, they do not say the werewolf word once, And the werewolf they suspect is chasing them the entire novel gets conveniently washed away into the river, so there's no evidence, so they cannot in any way confirm it. And I really hate that sort of plausible deniability crap. It's not as bad here, but there's like this there's I remember there was like this entire section where they're basically like trying to frame something, like orchestrate something to make it look like there was an accident involved when there was really murder, and it's kind of I kind of didn't enjoy the fact that there was an entire segment about how they were when they were talking about how were they going to pull off the plan of faking in these people's deaths after they were murdered, and then we both see the in-depth planning of planning beforehand, and then have the entire thing also happen in real life. So we basically have the same thing happen or described to us twice, which in a novel that's already this meandering and slow paced is not welcome. Definitely ruin the pacing. Doctors Wear Scarlet. Well, okay, the first part of this novel, like the first two-thirds of this novel, are pretty good. It's basically about trying to rescue an Englishman who's trapped on a Greek island in the thrall of a female Greek vampire. And the last third of the novel is this guy is back in, I believe, Oxford, and he's everyone's walking around on eggshells trying to make him not get pissed off so that he won't turn into a vampire either. And it's really annoying having everyone just be anxious and on eggshells around this guy for like a third of the book. And like, can we just move? Can something just happen already? That was a really annoying. Like the first two-thirds of it were good, and the last third just basically ruined it. Echo of a Curse by R.R. Ryan is actually really, really great. It's like one of it's another one of the hello there, mysterious person who I don't know who you are because you're so mysterious. Hold on, I shall consume some cherries. I genuinely don't really bother watching the movies for these because I want to see what the author's intentions was. I want to see the book as it was written, what the author intended, because even back then, people were just constantly like adding stuff, like adding romantic subplots and toning things down. And I want to actually experience what the writer wanted to experience. That's one of the reasons actually why I don't really read anthologies, because I want to experience a selection of a particular writer's work to be able to judge it. Now, an anthology may be a good way to be pointed towards a writer you might not know about, but I want to just, when I read it, I want to read just preferably something they themselves wrote and published during their lifetime, or a selection of their work at least. That's why I don't really go for anthologies, and that's in general why I don't go for movie adaptations. Sorry. Not saying that they're bad. In general, I just want to experience the initial idea for the first time, because I know that a lot of this can and does change. So yes, Echo of a Curse, good sort of werewolf novel. Not the best R.R. Ryan novel on this list though. That's in one of the other lists on here, but it's actually pretty good. Medusa by E.H. Wierzak. That's one of those. Yeah, I've read some of us. I still have to read Freak Museum, and I am going to, because again, pretty good, all things considered. I will point out, I had something and lost my thread of thought there. Oh yeah, I was talking about Medusa by E.H. Wierzak. Medusa is one of those books, one of those ones that there's this type of book you come across that gets referenced and brought up as significant in genre biographies and reviews of other books that compare it to, or say that something derived inspiration therefrom. But the problem is that the book itself has not shown up for like 30, 40, 50 years. And in all cases, the original edition is insanely hard to find or expensive or both. This is very much the case with Viziak's Medusa, which I'm going to sneeze. Probably. Honestly, I would have preferred if. Sorry. Better out than in. My issue with. I'll get to my issue with Medusa in a second after I've stopped leaking again from my face. Okay. Thank you. So, the problem with Medusa, okay, first of all, it is one of those novels which, like I was saying, they basically, you find mentioned a lot, but no one's actually bothered publishing in like 50, 60, 70 years or so. And usually there's a reason for that. And that reason usually is that those novels tend to not be very good. I had a similar experience with Robert Coates' The Eater of Darkness, which was being talked about as this surrealist, Dadaist novel about a guy who's using like a death ray as a sort of in an attempt to destroy, menace society and destroy the world. And the whole Dadaist aspect of that is like 2 pages where the text gets randomly rearranged and jumbled up for no real reason. And it's not really interesting. It doesn't do anything. It's kind of just like this story with going all over the place, and it's not really good at anything it sets out to do. The problem with Medusa specifically is that it's 98% of it is a regular ass nautical adventure story, like a nautical novel of a young boy going on board a ship and just traveling from on sea into ports and just experiencing being on a ship for the first time. And then the last 2 chapters is something. Oh, by the way, we're suddenly in an Eldritch Hell dimension menaced by an interdimensional cosmic entity of pure terror. Comes right the fuck out of nowhere. And honestly, it's a bit hard to comprehend what is even going on. And that was one of those moments where you feel like, oh shit, what is happening? I had a similar experience with another book on this particular list, although it wasn't as bad. That was actually Michael Ireland's Hell Said the Duchess, which is one of those rare detective, thriller novels. No, what do you call it, thriller? Well, it's a detective novel, and I guess you can sometimes you can call it a thriller. I don't really know the rules for that. Basically, where there's the supernatural in the story happens to be 1000% real, which you almost never see. Like one of the other examples I've actually come across is The Black Butterfly, which is a novel whose existence I've unearthed basically accidentally, and which is really amazing, and one of those things that makes me really glad to be able to discover these things and bring them to people's attention, and hopefully we'll be able to publish that soon. Again, we're still working on things, but in the case of Medusa, it's actually pretty jarring, all things considered. Now, what would I say is the best on this on the first list? I would definitely say Dark Sanctuary. Dark Sanctuary by H.B. Gregory is definitely in the running for that. I would actually. as much as I like Alraune, I'm probably going to say that, yeah, The Dark Sanctuary by Gregory is actually the best. Maker of Shadows is good, but it has a couple of foibles. Like, we'll take this idea that I don't like, but specifically, it's like the second best, and in a lot of ways, you could say it's better than Dark Sanctuary, because Dark Sanctuary is a bit more bit more Christian oriented in its philosophy and morals and world building. Sort of, we've got this, but it has a lot of very good things to it. The again, I'm blanking on the specific Maker of Shadows is good, but again, one of my main major pet peeves is this idea, because I actually have studied Assyrology, which doesn't just refer to ancient Assyria, funnily enough, as far as I know, I understand it. For a layman, as a layman for well over a decade, actually probably 15 years at this point, and so I just kind of hate it when basically they say, "Oh, ancient Assyria was demonic," and like the novel specifically says, like Toxic says, Nineveh was one of the most evil places in history, like probably the most evil city to ever exist. And I'm like, really? I'm just gonna no, I'm not gonna go into this. Especially, but yeah, that's one thing that slightly annoys me about this. But yeah, those are the two best things on this list, on this part of the list, honestly. Then we have the 13 best science fiction horror novels, and again, I don't really like science fiction in general. When it's like a space opera, I don't really like it. I might watch it on TV, but I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read 300 pages and people talking about thrusters and teleporters and engines and things like that. So yes, if I do read sci-fi, it has to be more of a almost science fantasy in that regard, or outright science. It's actually just focusing on ideas instead of just trying to bedazzle me with explanations of fantastical fictional technology and how it works. So, of course, we go over here. There's The Death Guard by Chadwick, which is a pretty great science fiction horror novel. Although the original edition of this is basically almost impossible to find because of the Nazis, specifically the London Blitz, which incinerated nearly the entire original edition, which, funnily enough, has a foreword about that basically refers to the idea that hopefully the conference they basically managed to solve and prevent another world war in 1938. Well, considering that what happened to the book specifically, that's a bit ironic, but yeah. Trying to remember specifically. Oh yes, and the new paperback edition from like the 2000s. If not earlier, but was it the paperback edition that I have somewhere? I have different in a different country, but I have read it. Is also getting very, very pricey again, which is annoying because that one's actually pretty good. Then we've got Vampires Overhead by Alan Hyder, which is it's weird. It's like this weird. It's this novel where the world basically ends up being completely destroyed by these things, which they're not really vampires in the traditional sense. They're just these weird, like creatures that kind of look like they're alive, but also they don't act like they're alive, and they don't really do like I don't know. It's basically like just what's the word I'm looking for. Not grasshopper specific, maybe. I might have to look up the translation for that because I don't remember it off the top of my head. Oh yeah, it is grasshopper. Okay, fair enough. Basically, it was written by a very weird man. I talked about it on this ancient video I did on it. It is pretty good. You might have trouble finding a copy of it though. And then I'm probably going to say the worst novel on this entire on this combined listing of all three lists combined is The Cadaver of Gideon Wick. Because how do you take a mad scientist novel where a mad scientist is like turning pregnant women's unborn children into like human seal hybrid abominations and turn that into a bloody whodunit with like solving clues and then arguing in court? Like literally the entire second half of the book is a detective story mixed with a court drama. I do not understand how the hell you do that. Did I stutter? There's a mad scientist who takes pregnant women and transforms their unborn children into human seal hybrids. That's what. And then he gets killed, and the rest of the book is sending private detectives and gathering clues and then having a court drama where you argue evidence in court. I don't. How do you do this? How do you stumble this fucking hard? I'm sorry for that. I'm trying not to be vulgar, but this particular moment is definitely up there. Yeah. So then let's see. There's the Flying Beast, which, while not as bad as The Cadaver of Gideon Wick, is the other masterman on this list, and it's disappointing because it has this amazing intro where there's this buried house and all these weird and horrible things happening in there, and at the end of the novel it just turns into, look, there's these dopey-eyed fishmen that get ordered around by this dude with a flying hovercraft thing that's made to look like a dragon. And it's kind of hard to specifically put in words how much of a disappointment that is for this, how this dips in quality, but yeah. And then we have Land Under England by Joseph O'Neill. Oh boy, this one. The first third of the book is really interesting because it references a bunch of old family legends and an old map. And I'd look into that. Thank you very much. There's basically there's legends surrounding this particular remnant of Hadrian's Wall and a local pond, and a legend about if the pond ever goes dry, that you might find a way to enter the tunnels to an underground secret city. And well, there's a lot of intrigue and family mystery involved in there, if that makes any sense. And the moment the protagonist gets underground, well, he initially gets menaced by some weird, lanky, monster-looking thing, but then he gets to the actual city to find his lost father, and it's basically, there's no actual city. Well, there's no cities. Instead, there's a bunch of short, emotionless automatons squatting around in bushes, and that's it. That's basically it. I don't know how they managed to fuck that up. Fair enough, but again, the main thing we were supposed to be interested with, it's the image of this is so disappointing and so stupid. I don't know how O'Neill wrote this and thought it sounded interesting, or it's literally just these people don't even have cities. and none of the characters have emotions or thoughts or feelings, so they're bland ciphers. So it's like, oh, the main character just looks at a bunch of emotionless, bland ciphers who till fields and sit around in bushes. How is that interesting? The Cross of Carl, very, very good. And again, Frankenstein, obviously, although at this point I'm a bit wondering why even bother to put Frankenstein on there. You didn't bother to put Dracula on here, which I would imagine you would if you're trying to go for the same thing as everyone else. But I still don't understand why you bothered. Why he bothered, rather. And yeah. So what's the worst on the science fiction list? Yeah, the Cadaver of Gideon Wick, because of how massively it just fumbles its plot, its premise. Sorry. And there's the best non-supernatural horror novels. These are a bit of a mixed bag. I'm trying to see. Although, admittedly, I wasn't as disappointed with these as I was with the other ones. If I was disappointed, except for one thing. Now, I've actually read a couple of, basically only 2 books by Mark Hansen. One of them, I'm just going to make sure I say the name right because it has been a while. And I need to make sure I find it in here. Oh God, what is it name? What was it called? What? Sorry, I've just been startled by YouTube randomly thinking that I have like less videos than I have. It's like the total amount of videos oscillated a bit, but before randomly, but now it just went from 624 to 621, which I can only assume is because of because yeah, I don't have anything on here that says anything was in any way targeted or removed or in any way dealt with. So I don't understand why they would do that. I mean, they just have to keep the. I don't know. Oh, yeah, they can't even calculate. Hold on a second. I had a thing, and I lost it, and now I have to try and remember it again. Oh yeah, handsome. So I have to actually make sure to find. Yes, Master of Souls, which that's actually legitimately one of the best horror novels I've ever read. It was written by Mark Hansen. And apparently Wagner didn't read it, but he did read The Shadow on the House, which is terrible. Because it's one of those books where the audience, even when the audience knows 100% what's going on, like, and what the actual twist ending is going to be, not even halfway into the book. So you spend more than 60% of the book watching the people in it bumble around like idiots and make shocking discoveries and be mystified and mesmerized by these inexplicable things that they can't possibly make sense of. When you're sitting there screaming at these people to use their bloody brain because this is so blitheringly obvious. And I'm not even talking about just being genre savvy. I'm talking about just having a brain at all. And it's like, so yeah, I didn't enjoy this one at all because the ending of it was obvious, brutally obvious, and I knew the entire. I was waiting for the entire book. I was thinking, okay, Handsome made this outcome so obvious that surely he's doing it as a red herring, and there's going to be an actual like last second twist that's going to actually just switch up everything. Nope. How you think this qualifies as the best of anything is beyond me, to be honest. Okay. So reminder, I hate having to do this, but reminder, we do have the GoFundMe and PayPal hopefully linked in the description. I tried to put it in there. I hope it didn't mess it up somehow, which at this moment is kind of important to help potentially help me get an actual place to stay. I have something sort of selected already as a sort of a last resort, but I definitely would need some additional help in order to be able to deal with it. Because again, not having been able to have a job since the end of August, I don't exactly have a lot of savings to be honest. Well, a lot and none at all, basically synonymous, but it is what it is. So that's as far as I can really discuss the list here, specifically Wagner's list. Now, let me think. Yeah, so if I'm going to say what from where I'm standing right now, what are like the best of these? Well, overall so far on the list, let's see. Well, probably has to be either. Need to find it. Where is it? Maker of Shadows, or Dark Sanctuary. Well, that or the Subjugated Beast, which is on the final list here, and I realized I haven't talked about it. That's the other R.R. Ryan book that I've actually been reading, actually read rather, and it's a bloody fantastic book of horror and madness. So definitely encouraged. So so those are the three I realize that I can also say a few things about, say, The Master of the Day of Judgment by Perutz. Mostly that one just annoys me because it spends the entire novel building him towards this mysterious, bizarre conclusion. And then in the end, the actual final revelation is so incredibly weak that it doesn't even remotely warrant all this build-up. Oh, as far as the supernatural, the science fiction horror novels that I was talking about before, well, you might have noticed I didn't mention the one book on this list written by L. Ron Hubbard. I didn't. I did read about it, but I did read it actually, but apart from the novel being it's this weird thing which is not really a horror novel. It's this weird post-apocalyptic sort of story that kind of glorifies that is against democracy and glorifies strongman rule and pseudo-fascism. But beyond that, there's not much else to it. Honestly, I don't know why this is on here at all, to be completely honest. I wanted to show some more of the things I have here. This is Herr von Haribo's The Masks of Death, or The Masken des Todes. Again, I'm trying to display it in a way where it's actually going to show up. Not that easy. Which are, again, these are 7 stories. Where is it? Bento. Okay, bending that backwards. Right, so wait, what is that? That one got bent again. That's probably not my fault. Okay, let me just try and I'm trying not to be boring here. I'm just trying to mention some, go on through the list here. That's it. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can. It doesn't appear to actually have a contents page, which is somewhat annoying. Hold on, I've got another thing. I'm just going to respond to a message I got here really quickly. Sorry, just okay. I'm back. No, I was here. I was just going through some things. I have this little novella, which again haven't actually gotten to yet, but I'm intending to. The Rubies of Sylvanus de Viet, which is a sorry, an alchemist novel. An alchemist novel. Why did I pronounce it that weird? An alchemist novel. That. Then we've got this, which is Joseph Vogler's, which is a spiritist novel. Der Schutzgeist des Hauses Berndl, or the as we call it, the protective spirit of the Berndl family, which is a spiritist story. It was actually published in Vienna after the war. So, for example, the page quality is not that great. They're kind of, the pages are a bit see-through, and as much as I like the fact it's not in Fraktur, it also kind of, the font here kind of looks very generic, but had a nice sort of cover. Well, I'm not sure we call this an illustration. I don't actually know the proper terminology for it. And so I'm trying not to sneeze again. Also trying to find a way in which this will actually display in any kind of a there, I guess. Okay, I have to keep moving in the opposite direction, so it's a bit hard to make sense of. Then we have this, which is a collection of 2 fantastic novellas called Übersinnliche Liebe, and published Stuttgart and Leipzig. I don't know when, so it was I don't know where specifically this copy was printed. It could be in either, but yeah. Then we have, this is actually an English book for once. This is my copy of The Mistaken Fury and Other Lapses, which is a book by Oswald Caldry that I had a lot of trouble getting because of Brexit. As a result, there was I had to fill out forms and then pay import tax on it. Luckily, it's not. Luckily, it wasn't that much because it didn't cost that much. But yeah, it's been on the lookout for this one for a few years before I finally found an affordable copy. So I'm going to put this to the side. And then, well, there's this collection of Abenteuer und Träume, or Adventures and Dreams by Max Kleinschmidt. Actually, I had to order this one twice. Where is this? Okay. The only problem specifically is I can at most show the covers if there's anything on the cover, because again, there's usually nothing visually interesting in the books themselves. So there's this. I'm sort of arranging it so I can put it back sort of how it was. And make it at least a little bit of a less of a mess with it. So yeah, there's that. Sorry again. I know that I've been going on for a bit. Should probably actually be a bit more prepared with slides and things to show off like tomorrow. But right now, let me see. Can I actually show you in? Oh, I probably could, but I don't have a particular thing that has all of them. I could very much figure that out myself, though. Okay, so there's this. And I'm wondering if people here are curious for me to keep going. I'm just because I am willing to soldier on. It's just that I sometimes get a bit winded if I keep talking for too long, at once. So I need to drink something. So yeah, does anyone have a specific topic they would want to bring up, or should I just go back to showing things off, even in this guerrilla style fashion, or do you want me to like take photos, give you compile this photo gallery? Not entirely is not something I understand in this context. Oh, I think fair enough, I suppose. I realise how you mean it, probably. So, okay. So, yeah, there's this, and oh, fair enough, I suppose. I'm actually wondering if I could go and replace these so I can, at least in part, so I can get to include taking out more. If you happen to see my feet, please ignore it. I destroy enough socks as it is. Wearing them indoors is just, stuff basically everywhere. So, okay. Okay. I'm going to basically have to take all of it out in order to be able to show all of it. So, Sorry about that. Okay, then. This is a translation from what I believe is a French writer named, oddly enough, Paul Pierre. I believe I'm 90% sure when I did search him up that he was just French, although kind of hard to really do a lot of research with a name like that. This is Samsara, an occult romance. Again, only copy to be sold for ages of this. That's the inside for edification. And yeah, it's a pretty rare occult novella, and that's all I know about it so far. And I have this, Ludmila von Reren's Morgenröte, which I don't think this was the original cover for it. This is just something people threw together, which you can tell by the. Although admittedly, I could be wrong, but this cover is basically glued on. The title is glued on the. Okay. There's this. I wanted to show you something. I have to get to it first. So. You have Lulu von Strauss und Torni, who also wrote Lucifer. I've yet to get to, but I've just got my hands on recently, digitally. Wrote Die Legende der Felsenstadt, or the legend of the Cliff City. And we've got The Broken Ring by Paul Wichert. Which is a fantastic novel from the 15th century, specifically starting out in 1410. As being the cover page, the first page. I can sort this out a bit. See some of the other illustrations if I can find them. I'm trying to be not as boring, but it's kind of hard to look these up. There's a lot of castles there. A lot of castles and women wearing very big hats. Okay, so I need to. We have Alexander von Gleichenrusswurm's The Ewigen, which is actually a play. I didn't really know it was a play when I got it. I'm still going to read it, but it's a little annoying because I don't really read or cover plays very well. The last play that I actually read was Philippe's The Return of Adam, and that one was so just annoying in how overly pompous the language was, and I had a hard time knowing what was going on half the time. This is a reproduction copy of Friedrich Jakobsen's apocalyptic story, The Let's Mention or The Last People, which is a reprint of the original, which again, that would have been, it's from 2010, the original was from 1905. I have a similar thing here with Herman Bang. This costs like €60. This is, even though it looks or pretends to look fancy, it's not worth anything at all, really. You can find so many of these online for almost for pennies. Very very hard to really. Oh, sorry, I'm rambling a bit. I'm just going to go and try to find something more visually interesting in here. This is a snack I'm going to show off and enable me to then put it back so that I can sort of have at least a bit of this cleaned off. Oh God, sorry. The thing is still getting to me. So this is the Aschenhexe, or the Ash Witch, which is a collection of horror stories and fantasies, which has this weird thing. The edges are like, I'm not sure if you can see it. All the edges of the pages are cut off in this weird way on both sides, and it's intentional. I don't know what this is, like why they would do it. Then I have this is a reprint of Kerry von Brachvogel's 1923 collection, Fantastic Stories and Legends. The only problem is, well, they didn't really do that good of a job on the actual outside cover, because it looks like this. It's just like, this looks so utilitarian. You could probably learn physics from this. I mean, yeah. I mean, the inside includes a complete photocopy re-edition of the original text in the original Fraktur, which, at least the text in the book is different. As you can see, for example, this is the copy of the photocopy of the title page. It looks a lot better than this, I would imagine. Before continuing, it's kind of fell between. This is another Bergengruen. This is actually Nachricht von Vogel Phoenix, which is another of these mini novellas that he was writing at this time. Specifically, this one's 65-ish pages, 64 actually. Okay. Sorry about that. Again. I will not stop. These are some okay. So Geheimniswissen is this imprint in Austria that basically reprints old public domain books about the occult, and which includes a lot of fiction. I have reprints of Strobel, for example, from them, but I also have other things that they published. For example, Leopold Engel's the collection Die Magier, or The Magicians. And honestly, the text is good. I think there were some issues with the Scharfes S in some of their earlier editions that wasn't properly pre-printed, but these are pretty good. Also, they don't have blurry cover texts like they did on some of them, except this one's a bit blurry. This is a reprint of this Illuminati fantastic conspiracy novel, The Unsichtbaren Väter, or The Invisible Fathers. And the cover text is actually, cover illustration is actually pretty blurry. They do have some illustrations inside, which are fair enough, I suppose. What's this? Although, well, there is this illustration which should probably warn you about the certain tendencies the author might have. Which I wouldn't want to specifically go into here, but the time being period being what it was, and we have this, which is the this is the which is basically the Rosicrucian from Mexico, which is an adventure novel concerning a Rosicrucian in Mexico. So not much that interesting to look at on the inside. Somewhat interesting looking cover. I mean, it's an interesting idea. I just haven't gotten to it. Then we have Martinian sucht den Teufel, or Martinian is looking. Martinian seeks the devil, which again, not bad. In fact, yeah, this was also published in that. Then I have a reprint of Zullinger und seine Zucht by Konrad Loel, which maybe you might be able to see. I really should focus on this a bit more. Seems to be a bit more, as far as I was able to determine, it seems to be a bit more satirical. Then we have Alexander Leonard Holenia, which was kind of like a national poet of Austria. This is the 27th of November. I don't actually know if this particular collection has anything fantastic in it, but I did write it down years ago. So I'm going to hope and assume it does. So it's, and we have yet another one of the Geheimniswissen reprints. This is a reprint of Dr. Frenzatler's Am Libanon, which is a bit of a chunky bugger. This particular edition has just over 500 pages. Oh, it also includes photographs. If you wanted to see the inside of a Greek church, I don't know why that would be something you would be that interested in, but you can. Now let me just hold these back so that I can start. Well, I still have more to pick out. I want to also start putting some of this, okay, those on there. Oh. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's start at the bottom of this stack now. This is a fantastic adventure novel called Aufruhr in Anarachapura, which I didn't even find listed in most genre biographies. I think it's not even listed in Robert N. Bloch, which is kind of an important sort of person, basically exhaustingly covering fantastic in German literature. Then we move on to the bottom. This is the other book from Adenora. This is the Das Tal des Willens, or the Valley of Will, which is another collection of novellas, including such riveting titles as hold on, is there an intro? No, there isn't. Really? Oh, there we go. Yes. Okay, we go. Here's what I actually want to show up. This is the other Oehringer book I got. This is Das Kreuz im Kreise, which is Well, I don't really know what this is about, but seeing this, front illustration, I have my hopes up at least a bit. Sorry, it's setting these things in the correct order sometimes a bit hard. This is Fata Morgana, which is again another fantastic novel that I don't know anything about except the fact it was featured by Bloch in his biography of fantastic literature in Germany. So I eventually got a copy of it. This is Karl Erb's Die Erscheinung, which again, pretty neat cover all things considered. But yeah. I kind of just got this one. I don't even know if this is classifiable as genre fiction. I got this one with a different order just because they were basically for nothing. This is this is a novel about Atlantis because it definitely looks like that. Yes, that's a bear. And this being a reprint of Konrad Krause's Überfallen in Schlangenbad. In Schlangenbad, not der Schlangenbad. I mean, it beats reprinting it in like one color. Oh, so that was this stuff. And yeah, still have these to go. So these go back as well. I'm going to go and get these back. Then okay. We've got Frank Thies's Der Tod von Ballern, which I actually had digitally, but then, which is called The Novel of a Dying City. Then Van Bruggen's Das zerstörte Ameisenreich, or The Destroyed Ant Empire, and The City in the Desert, or Die Stadt in der Wüste. I don't know anything about this. It's supposed to be a Lost Race novel, so I got it, and that's why I'm interested in it. Then we have this, Kläger und Angeklagte, which is a bonus issued to the subscribers of a particular publishing house, which includes the combined edition of all the multiple different novels and collections that actually released that year. So, which includes Meinhold, De Quincey, Burget. And the reason I got this one is because it's the cheapest way to acquire Karl Hans Strobel's collection, Der Häuptling Sisander. You can see this is a, they basically take the original versions, like the first one I showed up, the collected bound edition of this one from this other publishing company. They take individual novels that they published, take the pages, bind them together in a special collection thing. As far as I know, this one wasn't actually sold commercially. This was just sent off to people who were I'm not sure if it's subscribed or at least read some sort of who purchased things from the publishing company. So there's that. And then we have Saturnische Sendung, which is a bit of a sci-fi-ish thing. I'm not really sure. I think it's more sci-fi fantasy than anything. But again, I've looked into this before, but it's been a while. So it's not that interesting, I imagine, but I still want to show it off anyway. and then to be able to remove these and put them back so that I can actually start making things orderly again. Now, I know that where are these ones? Ow! I know where these go. Ow. I'm almost, well, sort of done. Well, not quite, but there's only about 3 stacks here, and I'm slowly turning the other ones back. So, I'm going to just blow my nose again. And we have another Bergengruen right off the top. This is the Der Tod von Reval, or the Death of Reval, which are curious stories translated specifically, it says curious stories from an old city, which is one of his other most well-known collections. Then we have Scarabaeus. I hope you're actually going to be able to see it. Again, not planned this out that well. Which is another collection of fantastic fiction written by, had the name here, specific, Vanda Fries. Then we have the Emanuel Stickelberger's the Stein der Weisen, or which would be probably properly translated as the Philosopher's Stone, which is a historical fantastic story taking place in Basel, which again, as far as I remember, that is in Germany as well. I don't want to say anything too specific about it right now, but yeah, there's a lot of also a lot of illustrations. Some of them, well, you decide. Bring these to the side. Then we have one of several novels, if I remember correctly, that I have from Georg von der Gabelens. This is the Verführerin, or the Temptress. That goes under here. Then we have this, which is Paradise of Criminals, a fantastic story about criminals building themselves their own city in the middle of Brazil. Here. And we have Paula von Tansky's Das Fest auf Salamis, which is based around her travels as the wife of a diplomat, and includes such. I remember the titles of this one were fairly amusing. I'm going to actually find if there is a content page or not. Yes, we've got the Toten. So we have the Death Guard, the Nihilist, Russian Eastern, the Ural, all very positive sounding titles. And there's The Magic Lantern, which is a later edition of von der Mulder's novel that originally came out, I believe. It won't tell me what the name of it was originally, this one. And that's the fantastic novel. And there's Cagliostro, which, again, I don't know what it's... I know what it's about, but I've just picked it up because it was being sold by the same bookseller as... and this is just a load of old wank. This is the Goldmacher, and it's supposedly it's listed online as a novel about alchemy. I thankfully didn't pay anything for it because I found it for free in a British telephone box. Because for some reason, someone had put a British telephone box up around here and using it as a free public library. This is nonsense. This is just the whole thing is just about one guy trying to protect a local mountain from being mined, and that's it. I'm going to put these away as well, and then I'm gonna go. Actually, it's more of these. So now we have 2 more stacks to go through, and that'll be the whole box then. Well, this is, for example, this is the original German translation of Der Storch Caliph, or the Stork Caliph, by the Hungarian Mihail Babits. Mihaly Babits, I don't know how you actually pronounce that in Hungarian. I very much got this because I didn't really want the newer edition, which was gaudy and purple and looked not that great, all things considered. Then we have this little gem. This is Eric Eckerts's Die Vroegmesse Verrufen, and I can probably see I believe at least the cover might interest you, if you can actually see it. Again, if I'm moving things too quickly or you can't make them out, please do tell me so I don't mess things up too much. This is Natalie von Eschroth's Sternschnuppen. There's are supposed to be some fantastic stories in here. So, fantastical, rather. So, that's why I got it. It is illustrated, but it's one of a period thing. I don't think that would be too interesting for anyone right now. This is another collection by Strobel. This is the Madonna with the Armbanduhr, or the Madonna with the hand watch, if you want to call it that. Checking quickly to see if there's any illustrations in there to show off, but I already knew there wasn't. Then we have the very first book from Bergengruen actually got his novel Der große Alkahest, which is the first edition of this novel. It came out later as Der Starost, which honestly enough sounds way less intriguing. So, and then we have Stratz's Der Fluch des Pharao, or the Curse of the Pharaoh, which, yes, this is a cursed mummy story. I'm just gonna, I like that cover, so I'm just gonna put this to the side and blow my nose again. Okay, we now have a similar novel to Alcahest, from what I've heard. It's a novel, magical novel by the Swiss writer John Knittel, Der blaue Basalt, or the Blue Basalt. Then we have The Other Side of the World, a metaphysical novel by Georg Korff. And and then I'm sad to say it doesn't have anything visually interesting about it. And then we have the Herr des Stillen Meeres, or the Lord of the Silent Sea, by Bran von Dewitz. A quick check. Okay, so I am clearing these back into the actual I don't know what that was, the notification I just got, because it didn't say anything. So only one more stack to go through, and then okay, the last stack here. After that, I might as well try to either find something you all want to talk about, or I might just end it for today. So we've got Der Tod, die Frauen und der Fremde, or Death, Women, and the Stranger by von Bierg. It kind of looks like Bierg. Again, I only have the actual book itself to show off, like the front cover design. There's nothing inside it that's too intriguing. This is The Magic of Dr. Morinon, or the Magie des Dr. Morinon. Again, the actual cover design is basically the only visually intriguing thing. But again, I plan to read all of these, as insane as it may sound, so I will tell you when I know. This is a collection of two different historical novels, and one of these is actually the Glocken auf St. Nikolai, or the Bells of St. Nicholas, which has fantastic elements in it, both written by the historical writer August Brass. The other novel in here is the Poles before Frankfurt, which is, I believe, a novel of the Napoleonic Wars. Then we have something interesting. Well, very interesting for me. This is Die Herrin der Welt by Karl Figdor. This was originally the basis for sort of influential early film serial at the time. And for the longest time, you can barely find anything about the original book, and 90% of the information online is only about the actual movie serial. So I got this one specifically to read the original. And then I have a few more from Gabelitz. One of them is this Werner Stauf der Monist, or Werner Stauf the Monist. It has an intriguing cover, though. Again, it's so faded, I can only show it off in an image gallery in a far more succinct way, and I won't be boring you as much. The last two novels from Double-Lens. This is the Devil's Eye, which is a collection of short fiction I got for really cheap. Thanks to BookBeat, not BookBeat, that thing, I can't remember the name of it now. I forgot what its German name is. Knihobot is it's in Czech, but I don't know what it is in other languages. This is The Holy Eye, which is a fantastic novel taking place in specifically in Venice in the 16th century. So I'll pack these up. And one final thing in this stack that is of note, and that is this. This is Kolben Hayer's Paracelsus trilogy, and about, Paracelsus, the astrologer, and I basically had to order this one 3 times, because the first time it was returned by the mail because they claimed not to be able to find me. The second time I ordered it, and then the seller cancelled it because they said that they don't have it anymore. And only the third time that I found someone actually was able to sell this to me. So this thing getting to me took like a month and a half in any way. So Kolbenheyer, incidentally, apparently was one of the most well-read German authors of the time period. But now basically no one has any idea who he is. I'm sorry, just having a notification. Okay. Sorry, Alicia, you're going to be mad at me, so if I don't do this right now, so let me just, hold on, there's something I need to do here. Where is it? There it is. And yes. Okay, sorry about that. We had a spammer on the server. So technically, your channel, the server, is the only one where spammers can post like spam invites to fraudulent and or fake 18+ servers. I've been trying to work with permissions, but I don't know how to actually change it to make it. Yeah, they've done it like 3 or 4 times now. I just removed another one who did it. I'm sorry. I hope you're not mad at me. I'm really trying to figure that out. So that was. So yeah, that was all of that. Well, all that in the box. I still have a bag. I can show you. Okay. similar. Okay. Yeah, well, that's how it is, sadly enough. I really need to do something about the permissions, but right now I'm feeling a bit exhausted. Let me just go through this. So yeah, we're gonna do another stream tomorrow, and I'm hopefully a bit more prepared now that I've slightly gotten the hang of things a bit more and how it works, and make sure it doesn't just implode on itself. And hopefully, like, I'll try to promote it a bit more. And also, yeah, if anyone who is still watching, if they can actually, I will be sending out stuff to announce the stream tomorrow, and I hope you're going to be able to spread that out before we actually start. I'm actually going to try and find out how to have like a bit of a delay so that I'll actually have hopefully like a 10-minute delay before starting, so that anyone who actually wants to join up can join up, because I wanted to do this but I couldn't figure out how to do it today. So I'll do that, and then hopefully I'll be able to have things done. I will have more of an update on the situation, the financial situation as it goes. And yeah, I really hope to be able to do something with this. I hope I didn't bore you all to tears with showing you covers of books I didn't have much to say about, that you could barely see. I'm sorry about that. Just the most interesting thing I could think of to do, given all I have here. I am actually considering if we could do something along the lines of if there would be interest, I could potentially have a thing where you could watch something, probably public domain, and bad and weird, and at least for a bit, to sort of break up the stream. Start off with just casual conversation, then maybe a little bit, then move into a potential watch along of some public domain monster or cheap horror movie. I'm trying to find something really bad, and then maybe talk a bit later through as well. Hope that's actually what I'm actually able to entertain you a bit more. Yeah, but that's going to be it for today. I hope that whoever is here had at least a bit of a good time, and I do have to say that I am very very thankful to the couple of people who have sat basically throughout the entire thing. So I'll just see you later, and yeah, if you want to reach out about the, or if you want to spread the news about just not the stream but about the GoFundMe, and you can. I would be very appreciative if you did, and so that we could potentially have a bit more. Should I put this? So we could have maybe more of an audience participation if I actually manage to get something together tomorrow. It's going to be a bit less monotonous, but yeah, because I do admit I ramble on a bit. It's kind of part of my nature. Anyway, thank you, mysterious person who I don't at all know who you are. I'll see you later, and yeah, I'll update everyone on how everything is, and gonna probably do this tomorrow. And yeah. simply had to get one more drink in there. Oh, I'm going to have 2 more people show up just right before, and I'm thinking 3 people just showed up out of nowhere when I'm thinking I'm going to probably end it. Well, I might be persuaded, if there is interest, to show someone a couple of things from a bag that I have, that I've taken across state lines multiple times, um, which contains a few things I haven't shown off yet. But again, it's only if people are actually interested in it. Otherwise, if there's some interest to talk about, for example, Lovecraft or horror in general or anything of that sort, we can do that as well. I'm considering doing the idea of basically doing a live reading of something or other as part of the stream. Like, not now necessarily, but that's a bit. I've already gone on it a bit too long, but I mean tomorrow. We would definitely have a bit of a live reading if anyone has anything they'd be interested in me covering, or I could just find and select something myself, preferably just a couple of pages, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, so if anyone else, I'm not intending to just immediately dip because several more people just showed up, and I don't want to call them out for lurking. That's not what I want to do. But I do want to say, like, okay, if you want to talk about something related, we can. But right now, I believe that I've waffled on for a bit too long as is. Also, if anyone has ideas of stuff they want to ask me or to talk about, they can think about it and just shoot it to me for Discord or YouTube comments on the announcement video for this particular, the announcement for post for this stream, or anything else, like questions you might have in general, and I'll try and answer them. So yeah, it's kind of just trying to basically make a really weird hodgepodge of like all different sorts of types of streams right now, just because I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm also trying to make sure you are not all bored to tears. So, well, give me some feedback. Okay, I know that I was rambling a lot, and yeah, tell me what stuff you want to see, and if you have stuff you want to talk about or see read or discussed, then we can do that. Specifically, if you have something that's more involved for discussion, I would ask you if you could to send those questions in, before any other stream, so that I could like look this up and find materials for it, maybe some weird or interesting trivia to go on about. Because again, I don't remember all trivia that I randomly come across, so there might be some things that I did learn about, but I need to remind myself of. So yeah, basically, if you want to suggest something to be read live on the next stream, like a story, for example, or if you want to submit your own story to have me read through, that's also a possibility. Just you can shoot me a message on Discord, or in the channel server or wherever. If you have questions, again, you can do the same about, for example, stuff you would want me to ask me about the genre, that as far as I can answer it anyway, or about the channel, or stuff covered on the channel, or about anything specific that you might want to know my opinion on. Again, send me those questions if you want, and yeah, that's about it. Oh, and if you might have suggestions on something you would potentially like to see watch with other people on the stream, provided it is legal to view that, given if it's in the public domain, etc. If it's a suggestion you have, you also shoot it my way. Again, anything you can think about, anything you want to bring up or ask, etc., suggest, shoot me a question, a message request on Discord. I actually accept messages from people who are not on my friend list. I'm like one of the only people who even does that anymore. So do actually take advantage of that if you want. And yeah. But right now, I'll actually be signing off because I've been blathering on for over 3 hours, and I don't want to bore everyone else to tears because I'm kind of afraid it might have already happened to some extent. So yeah, uh, I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, if all things go well, in a far more organized stream. So yeah, this is not. I don't want to do this like to replace my existing content. Please do not think that I'm getting bored of it, that I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not going to start just randomly rambling on camera and not actually doing edited content anymore. I'm not spoony. So I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, and have a good evening. And I've been saying goodbye for like 10 minutes now. So I'll see you all later, and peace.